Hello everybody, I hope you can hear me over the soundtrack. Sorry I haven't posted a video for a while, but I have been busy preparing and going to a festival. I was running workshops, and the festival itself is quite a new festival. It's held in Oxfordshire in a village called Great Cockwell, and in the village Great Cockwell is a medieval tide barn, and it was built in 1200 and something, and it belongs to the National Trust. And a very good friend of mine has asked if she could run a family festival from it, and they said yeah, and this is the second year that it's run, and it's very successful. There's stores where you can buy things, and there are lots and lots of different acts. There was a couple of puppet shows there, and when I say puppet shows, I don't mean like Punch and Judy. I mean that the people that performed them had made their own puppets, wrote the script and performed, and I didn't get to see all of them because I was running workshops too, but there was some pirates and some dragons, and there was quite a few Shakespeare workshops and performances. There was because it was over a Saturday and a Sunday, on the Sunday night the last act was a blues singer. That was really good, and we had some folk singers, we had some ad-lib comedians. There was also an archaeologist that gave a talk about castles in a very, very funny way, not kind of dry, but a very funny way of explaining how people would attack a castle, and when castles came about in England, because we are quite famous for our castles. And there is more castles, I think, in Wales than there are in England itself, and there are quite a few in Scotland, although the ones in Scotland that they call castles are quite different from the castles that we have in England. The ones we have in England and Wales are much more like medieval knights that you see, King Arthur. Very, very different to what there is in Scotland. Anyway, also there was children's workshops. There was a circus, and how to teach circus skills to children. And there was also my workshops where I was showing people how to create illustrations from a story, and I also did draw and relax for adults. And also there were local musicians, including Eddie, that was playing by the bar there, and they were playing all through Saturday and Sunday different types of music. And there was an interesting lady there as well that had a store near my workshop, and she crocheted artifacts from Stone Age times, Neolithic times. It's really, really interesting because I've never seen an artifact crocheted before, so that was really interesting. But the downside to this was severe weather warnings, and it was June, and June is meant to be the height of our summer. Well, the tide barn is in a little bit of a valley, and we had really, really cold, strong winds. Now the tide barn is huge, really, really huge, and the doors are huge, really, probably about 15 foot high, something like that, 10 foot high. They are very, very high. And either end of the tide barn is these double doors, and in the double doors there are tiny little doors that people can go in and out of. And the reason why they are so high is a tide barn was built so that everybody, by paying taxes, would pay taxes by using crops, and the crops were stored in a great big barn that was usually tied to a church or a parish, or sometimes the local lord. And so they would need these big doors for people to bring in their grain on great big carts, and the other end to go out when it's been offloaded. Well, as you can imagine, it was rather cold in the tide barn and the wind was whistling through, and they decided that they would close one of the doors. Now, being medieval, it's not exactly like shutting doors on an airplane hangar. There's nothing mechanised and it's very, very antiquated. So Eddie and a couple of other people went to hold the doors and try and put these big logs across to keep the door shut in place, so that it would break up the wind and make it warmer in the barn for the acts that are playing in there. Well, the wind was really strong and they had to go and get more men, and I wasn't exactly doing my workshop. I was looking around for Eddie to get me some chairs for the tables I needed for the people that would be coming to the workshop. When I found Eddie, he was trying to help close the big doors. Now, they were all on the inside of the barn and they asked me to step out and help hold the door on the outside. Now, the people that were there said that if I would take their place, they would go and round up some more people to hold the door. So the only people that were left on my side of the door was one of the smallest pirates I'd ever seen. He must have been 5'5". Now, I don't know in other countries how big that is, so I can't do a conversion for you. And I was dressed as a bumblebee. So you can imagine everybody walking past and looking round the barn at the stores and that saw a bumblebee and a pirate trying to hold the doors shut. We must have looked extremely funny trying to keep these great big doors, because nobody could see the people on the inside struggling to get these great big struts of wood across the doors to stop them from opening. All they saw was a pirate and a bee. And I do wish that somebody had actually taken a photograph, but alas, nobody did. But if you do live in Wiltshire or Oxfordshire, please, 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 next year do check out the Great Barn Festival, because it really is family orientated. It is up and growing year by year. It is really, really fascinating to see the different acts. They are all very, very different. On the Saturday night was an act about a young girl and a curiosity cabinet, and it was audience participation, and you picked something out of her cabinet and she told you in a rather elaborate, funny way how she acquired the item. Really, really good. And a lot of the acts that were there were from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, so you know that they are quite good. And it's really funny because this little village, we were staying over night in one of my friend's houses, so that we didn't have to travel home to be early the next day to set up the workshops, even though I only live about 5 miles away from the actual barn. I don't live very far from it at all, but it was a lovely treat to stay in this really, really old house, which is 16th century it was built, and it was 2 cottages joined into one. And what was also really, really lovely and a fabulous treat was we got to stay in the house with some of the acts, which were really, really funny. And you can imagine at night we were all quietly going with torches and that to this house, and we were all pretty cold and pretty hungry, and we had rounds of toast and really fabulous stories talking about people's lives and how they got to be where they were, and it was amazing. So it's a real treat, and doing a festival isn't as easy as some people think. I mean, I don't know about big festivals like Glastonbury and Leeds and Reading and the other great big festivals. Glastonbury starts next week, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But this festival, even though it was small, took a year to plan and book all the acts. It's a lot of work. And even for the people that participate. Because although you organise the acts and you have the acts arrive and confirm and you're working out all the stalls, the people that are invited to run workshops and do the acts still have to rehearse and plan. So it is quite a lot of work doing the workshops. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a cup of my tea, drink of my tea. And so it took a lot of planning, and I had ordered a lot of A3 paper and pencils, coloured pencils. And unfortunately for me, the delivery man had come to my house the day before, couldn't find me in, even though I'd left a note and had taken the stuff back to where it came from. And so I then had to panic, and me and Eddie spent lots of hours sharpening all the coloured pencils. There must have been about 300 coloured pencils that we sharpened, of all different shapes and sizes and various colours. And also my friend Anna May had made me this fantastic thing to put my pencils in, and I'd been saving it knowing I was doing the festival. Now she had made me a carrying case, a really big carrying case. Now she made the carrying case out of a dragon onesie. Now a onesie is, for those of you who don't know, it's a suit that you climb into, that you relax in, and they're furry and nice and colourful, and at the end of the day, instead of putting a dressing gown on, you can put this great big onesie on it. It's a bit like a baby's romper suit but for grown-ups. And she'd found one, and she'd sewn up the arms and the legs, and she'd made this carrying case. And so we put all the pencils into the dragon onesie, which was really exciting for the kids to see. And in fact, I'm still using it now. I haven't taken the pencils out and put them in a normal carrying case. They are still in the onesie, and the children that I teach normally absolutely love this onesie, so they decided to name it. So I now have a dragon carrying case called Peanut. Now if anyone's actually ever heard of a dinosaur dragon called Peanut, please let me know. It was quite funny. And I also have a handbag, and that is also a T-Rex, and his name is Fergal, and the kids absolutely love Fergal as well, even though he's my handbag. It's quite funny. I forget that I'm carrying Fergal, and he's a T-Rex, and I get lots of little kids go, "Oh, look at that dinosaur, look at that dinosaur," which is quite fun. Sorry about that, my dog's been a bit of a nuisance. I was in the studio earlier and I heard the dogs barking at the fence, and I went to investigate, and a fox was walking near back of our garden, and the rabbit is out in the garden, and the dogs were barking because the fox was quite near our garden, and the dogs get quite territorial. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about this piece that I am actually painting, and it is a project that I am setting my students, and it's always interesting to think about what can you give them that is different and to make them look. And the art of drawing, although you can learn the tricks of how to do proportions, and you can, all the tricks, perspective you can have, you still need to look at objects and shapes. And you find as the further you go down your path of experience of making art, you will see mistakes. You don't notice them first of all when you start, but as you get more experience, you begin to notice mistakes, and you don't normally repeat that mistake again, because the next object will excuse me, that you are going to paint or draw, you observe something new about it, and you incorporate what you've learned. Now, I wanted the children to learn to observe something and change something's pattern. And they'd already done an abstract zebra where I'd just taken a very, very small section of the zebra's head, basically the eye area and cheek, and one side was painted in zebra colours, black and white, and the other side they had to pick a plain background of one colour, and then the stripes had to be all different colours, and no two stripes were to be the same colour together, so you couldn't have two reds together or two yellows, and that was quite challenging. Now this time I wanted them to do one side of the tiger in traditional red, orangey colour, and the other side to take the three colours, orange, white and black, and swap them over the other side when they did the other half of the face. And as I was drawing out the tiger, which you've not seen this process, it was really difficult for me to see how you were to do this, and the only way I could see it would be either very little colour or there'd be a lot of black. And for me myself, I didn't find that very interesting, and I thought to myself that some of the students might actually struggle with that project. But I really, really wanted to do a tiger, so I haven't drawn a tiger in years, and I wanted to see an easy way of doing it so that children could actually get the proportions, or grown-ups. And it was more about looking at something symmetrical, and although the base of the tiger is symmetrical, the actual stripes are not. Anyway, it came to the part I was drawing it, and I was looking at tigers on Google when I realised or remembered that some of the tigers are white, and that's why you can see at the start of this video that the tiger actually has a green eye, two green eyes. And I thought, brilliant, wouldn't it be interesting to do half a white tiger and half a red tiger? And they are quite different when you actually draw them. One is quite a cold colour and the other one is quite warm, and it would be interesting to have a discussion or discourse with the students about how they feel about the two colours. And it's really interesting because although white tigers are white, when it came to the face it's quite grey and shaded, and that was quite an interesting concept in itself. So that is why this tiger is half white and half red. Now, I did ask around because we know that we have the Bengal tiger and we have the Siberian tiger and we have tigers in China, and they don't seem to have a area name. They're just tigers. So if anyone does know where tigers come from in China, if they do have a prefix in front of them like Bengal or Siberian, please tell me in the comments below. Also, you may know that this tiger hasn't got any ears. It's not really designed to make it real. It's just a more about just the pattern on the paper and looking at the difference. So he hasn't got his ears or the rest of his body. It's just the main features that we are looking at, and looking at the way the face is constructed, or how can we make the face constructed to make it symmetrical. And I really did enjoy painting this, and it's quite funny because the eyes are quite different as well on the blue eye and the red eye staring at you. It's your own brain or your own eyes don't really know which one to focus in on, whether they want to focus on the green eye or the blue eye, and so you do switch around looking at it from place to place. And it's quite funny looking at it now while I'm painting it. It looks like I've folded the paper in half. And there's a fold in the paper which there isn't. Now this tiger is just painted with normal acrylics, nothing exciting. The eye is painted, the blue and the green is just ordinary household emulsion paint. And it's really interesting as I watch myself paint this, the different eyes. You know, they are quite different. It is really fascinating to look at. And now you can see that I am now applying the orange, and there's not so much shading in this one, but I did have great fun doing this, and I do hope that my students, I've only got one student drawing it at the moment, but I do hope the students have just as much fun actually painting him as I have. Now I can't think, just trying to think about what else has been going on. Oh, we have a Land Rover, and his name is Landrew, and he's been off the road for quite a while because of one thing and another, and he's just gone off and had his MOT, and he failed his MOT. In England we have things called MOTs where they test the car to make sure it's safe to drive, and today he's just gone off to a specialist garage that deals in Land Rovers, and they're going to give him a few little operations, and hopefully he'll be back on the road so we can go on adventures. And if we do get the Land Rover back on the road, then I will be able to film different areas, because it's really hard to film things in my car because my dashboard isn't very good and I don't use my phone to film. I use a camera, and I've tried filming to show you different places where I've gone, and it just jumps about a lot, so I've had to give up on that. That's not going to happen. But when the Land Rover's on the road, then we can drive to different places and I can show you around. It'd be a lot more easier. Now as you look at this picture, you can begin to see how very different the two sides are with the red and the white, and it's really, really interesting to do. And I do say, if you've got a 5 minutes and you want to start a project, maybe give it a go, and I'd love to see some of your outcomes, because it is really, really different. And it took a long time since I've done a painting that I've really enjoyed as much as I have doing this. And I do love it being a tutor, because I get to think of some really, really interesting projects while I think they're interesting. And I do hope the kids enjoy this as much as I've enjoyed doing it. And I must admit, it's really unnerving actually watching me paint with those eyes intensely looking at me. I don't always do many realistic things these days, although I am going to have a go at painting red rum, not in abstract form, as realist form. So I'm really looking forward to doing that, and I hope tomorrow, if everything goes okay, I've got one lesson in the morning, and then I can come back and I've got a studio day. I don't get a lot of those, so I'm quite looking forward to having a studio day in the studio. But please, if you are watching this or you've just found me, please do comment. I love reading your comments, and please do subscribe. The more people I get subscribed, the more that the videos get shown. Too small a channel to get monetized. I'm not really worried about the monetize. It's just that I think that art is such a relaxing thing that I find, and that's what I teach. And I do love watching other people paint. And so the more people get to know about the channel, here's somebody else for someone to watch or maybe get instruction from. So please do like and subscribe, and thumbs up, that'd be brilliant too. And as you can see now that I'm coming to the end of the colour, and what's really weird looking at this is I've waited for the grey to dry so I can put a fresh white, because when it's the grey is really, really wet, it's very hard to actually put the white on top. It picks up the grey. But what's really interesting is how a colour can actually change something so completely, except for the hair on the side of the white lion, which is a bit longer than the red lion. The face is completely symmetrical. There is no change in size, and yet the white one looks an awful lot bigger than the red side. And that is really interesting. Plus the colour eyes. Now it does look like the blue eye is bigger than the green eye. That isn't strictly the case. The image that I've got of the white tiger, there was much more black around the eye, which makes the eye look bigger and more open than the picture I had for the orange tiger. And now I am just adding some of the final detail to the tiger. And like I say, I really did have fun doing this, And please, again, do tell your friends about me, about my channel, if you enjoy it and you think that somebody might like to have a pop over and have a look at some of the things I do. I try to make it as varied as I can. Well, I just paint what I enjoy rather than make it structured, and I hope you enjoy it too. So I'm just going to leave you there now and just let you see me paint the pink nose. So take care, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.